this is what we get to look at today. This is an 82-inch Samsung, and you can see over on the right side, it's got a dark area. You can kind of tell that that's going to be probably the LED strips on that side, if I had to guess right now, because it's not a solid black area. You can see it just kind of fades away up to brighter. So that's usually what would happen if some LEDs went out, and it goes all the way from the bottom to the top. So that's what we're going to look at today. I'm going to get this thing laid down on the screen and start taking the back off. All right, there it is with the back off. Now, just a few things to keep in mind about when you take the back off. There is 4 tiny screws on the bottom. One of them goes in one of these. You'll be able to see it with the cover on. And then there's another one up in here somewhere. And then another one over here somewhere. And then another one in one of these brackets that hold the back cover on. And then once you pry in the little corner to lift that up a little bit, you can start by popping the clips off these here. And to show you what those look like, these are it right here. And you can see that, hopefully, I'll get this focused in. You can see there's a little hook right here on all of those. And they go all the way around. And they hook in each one of these places right here. So to get those, they have a special tool for this, but you can use a small screwdriver. I use this small one right here with a flat blade, and I use the end here, the hole that they give you, to start lifting the back up. And I would pry up, not down. You don't have to do it very hard though, but enough to get your screwdriver in to these locations. If you lift it up enough, you'll see that plastic piece locks right in this point right here. And all you have to do is get your screwdriver on the side and then just push that wire over. You don't have to push hard, you just push it over a little bit, and then the plastic piece will pop off. And then once you do that, you just move down to the next one, pop it off. And here's a little video I took of me pushing the screwdriver in there to pop one of these off. Hopefully you can see that pretty good. Now these rows here at the bottom of the TV are up a little bit higher. You can see it goes down a little bit than these right here. So these are a little bit harder to get. In the manual, it says start from the corners, work your way back this way, because the plastic is more flimsy as you go this way. And then this way you can lift it up a little bit farther to get these out. And then of course you have a whole row on the top. So all these 16 of them. And then there's it said, what was it, 9 on each side. And here's the other side to get all those. And then there's also, if it doesn't feel like it comes up, there's also 2 in the middle. One right there, come down here, and there's another one right there. So those will be your 2 last clips that come loose when you lift up the top. Because you're going to lift it from this side, and you're going to lift it up, and then don't lift it up too high, just enough to lift the bottom off this part right here, because this little power button right here, you don't want to break that off. So once you just lift it up and move it back a little bit. Then you can just stand the whole back up. So now we need to take all those boards and the speakers off, because we need to take this strip off right here. That's all along the bottom. We'll also need to take these off. This is where the feet go in. You can have the choice of having it out farther or in farther on both ends. So we have to take all that off so we can get ready to remove this part. And there is a little screw down here on both ends, right inside there. There's a screw on both sides. Them are the only ones that I see. But when we get to that point, I'll check it out and let you know what we're gonna do. Also, there's tape down here. From what I understand, we're gonna remove this tape. So this tape, I believe, is taped to the bezel part, or around the edge. So to get this off, we're gonna have to cut this tape or peel it up and keep it out of the way. I did peel this one up, just like that, but I can't pull it away. So there's gonna be, it looks like there's some foam down in here that might be the sticky stuff as well. So that might have to come out of there. But I'm gonna try to do this without flipping this thing over and removing the screen. If that's possible, we'll find out. All right, so let me get removing all those boards. First thing we're gonna do before we do take anything apart is we're gonna drain these capacitors right there. Those are 500 volt capacitors. We're just gonna make sure that the voltage is drained out of them. So let's just touch, if I can do this one-handed. Let's see. There's only 6 millivolts, 7 millivolts, so that must be drained out pretty good. And the other one, yep, they're drained. To remove these boards, there's a trick to it. It has 2 spots here, a spot there, and 2 there, and a spot there. So these boards slide out. So if you just pay attention to those, you can see that if you kind of gently lift up on the board and then push it that way, you can see that the board slides right out. You just have to get the edge of the circuit board lifted up enough off there to have it push that way, and that's it. Comes right off. Put it back on. We just set it down there. Put the little clips. If you look at the back, you can see the little clip here. You just make sure those are before the holes on each side. And then the little notch goes in the groove on that side and down here. And then you just slide it and snap it right in. And it's all done. Now, before I start taking out the rest of these boards and everything, I come up with a harebrained idea to test the LEDs, test the ones that are bad, just to make sure before I remove everything. So if we look down here, this is where our LEDs connect to. And there's a little chart that shows you right here what pin is for what. and there's a positive test point right there for the positive voltage for the LEDs. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the all famous LED tester that I have, that many other people have, and I'm gonna find out which ones are really bad, and I can tell that by, let me move this camera a little bit, right here, these two black wires go in here and then off that way. And if we remember correctly, the right side of the screen is the one that was bad. And these two gray ones, they go off to the left side of the TV. So I know I can go on this side of the connector. The connector goes in this way with the gray up, but I can go on the back side and I can get all the connections through these little silver points right here for all the LEDs on the bad side. I can touch the negatives on here and have the positive here, or I can just touch the positive and negative on each one of these, because this little chart here shows you what's positive and what's negative. So I'm going to just try that first, just to see what happens. I mean, when it comes down to it, if it's bad LEDs, we got to take them all out anyway. I just want to show that this does work, but they all read the same voltage coming out of this here. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. I'm just going to touch it, and you can watch the holes. I'll try to put an arrow there to point to each one that's lighting up, but if you watch the holes around the whole thing, you can see which light is coming on. So I'll start with the back side, the black ones. And it's 44 volts, and that's lighting up right in the center here. And now I'll move down, and it starts to move this way as they light, as I go down. There's the next one, and that's at 44 volts. There's the next one, 44 volts. Next one, 44 volts. Next one, 44 volts, 45, something like that. And the last one should be the far outside edge, and the voltage is the same. So if I flip this over and do the same thing on the gray wires, you'll see it start, I believe, in the center again and move its way out that way. Let's see. Nope, it's actually starting over there and it's going to come this way. So we'll add there, 44 volts. 44 volts. 44. 44. 44. And 44. So with them all reading the same, that kind of says that, tells that the LEDs aren't bad, unless they're all bad, and we know they're not all bad. So we are going to have to dig in further to this and find out why they all read the same. Maybe which ones aren't lighting up, I'm not sure. figured it's time to do some catching up. Because I didn't record every second of everything I did to this, because I was pretty much figuring it out for the first time myself on these big TVs. This is an 82-inch TV. I'm sure I mentioned that. It's in the description. But there were some things that I needed to work on getting off before I could really explain anything how it's done, because I haven't done one like this before. But so I got the screen out and all the other lenses out. They're setting off to the side, way in the back there. So I want to go back and put this together just a little, just the frame, to kind of give you an idea on how it came apart and the mistake that I made. So hopefully you don't make the same mistake. But to get the screen out, I had some family come over and help me, because this is an awful big screen. So what we ended up doing is, I have some of these are 8-inch suction cups, and we ended up putting 4 on the whole screen. So if you could imagine, there was one there, and then one up here, and then one down here, and one over here. So they were equally spaced around the screen, so it wouldn't flex at all. And I wanted these bigger ones because they covered a lot more area than the little tiny ones, and it worked beautiful. No problems at all with these. All you do is, when you stick it on there, you just pump this up until the blue line goes away, then you're good. And then the back part, you just push that to release the suction, and it comes right up. So that's, if you're doing big TVs like this, I'd recommend the big ones. That's me though. Also, just some other things. I bought the new sponge, double-sided sticky tape that goes right along this edge all the way around. So all that has to be cleaned off yet, and it has to be cleaned off the screen yet as well. And I showed you how I took that off in the little previous bit. And once I got that off, all that off, I end up taking off one of the LED strips as well. You can see that I heated it up, and I'll show you how I did that, but I heated it up, and that's just the paint that came off it when I was peeling it up. You can see, I got some pictures, but I'll show you this right there if it stays focused. That's where it blew off some LEDs right off the strip, and that's what caused the problem with it not working. And there's another one right there that just like shorted or something. It didn't blow an LED, it just shorted across the contact for some reason. I don't understand that one. But yeah, and that's stuck on at the back with this is like a plastic, this white material. It's plastic, and it's got sticky tape on there. And here's the new ones right here. I got 4 new ones. Got them from Shop Jimmy. Made sure I looked at that number right there and on the old one, and compared it with the new one. So come on, focus in here. That's what the number is for this one. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah, there you go. And this is, again, a Samsung 82-inch TV. All right, so let me kind of walk through what I did to get this frame off, because it's kind of tricky. I'm gonna set this camera down right over here. And then I'll just kind of go over what I did. I'm gonna grab a chair here. And hopefully the camera doesn't keep going out of focus because I'm too close or something. So these here, let me check. Yeah, these here are covering the circuit boards to the screen underneath. So when the TV's flipped over the other way, you'll be taking these off along with all the boards and everything. These go right here. This comes off, and then it kind of releases this from this here, from these little things here. So now you have the frame, you have the screen, all the other lenses in there, and now you need to get working on trying to get that lens out of there. Well, the first thing you got to do is you need to take this piece off. And to do that, that's where I made my mistake, because at the other end, I ended up breaking the clip off it because I didn't know there was a clip there. So once you get this loose to where you can pop this piece up, have it bow in the middle, then you're gonna pull it up enough to where this part of it slides back that way, because there's a little hook right there. So if we lift the center of it up and then we kind of push this over, pull this back like this, you'll see that it unhooked this little edge right here. And you're gonna do one at a time. You're gonna lift this up, pop this out, and then you're gonna pull it back this way to do the other one, to get the other one pulled out. So let me show you this, if I can get this zoomed in here just about right. You can see that little clip right there. That right there is what you're unhooking on both sides. And because I didn't know what I was doing, I broke this one off on the other side. So I'll have to use some durable double-sided sticky tape or something to hold the other side back on there. And that goes right down in this thing. So if I use a screwdriver like the clip, it goes right underneath there, and it holds right in there. So that's what you got to try to lift out, both sides. And you can't take the frame off first, because if you notice, the frame goes over the top of this piece right here. So you can't take this piece off. Well, I actually did. I can't say you can't, because I actually did. I very gently pried this up because there's a tab right here. From this piece right here, there's a tab that sticks up in this slot right there. And I actually pried that up a little bit after I disconnected all these spots right here. They pop up like that. You do that all the way down, so the whole thing bows just like the other one. And then you can pull that out from there, as long as you have this pried up. Sorry for the blurriness. I'm trying to hold the camera and show you at the same time. So that's how I got mine out. Let me set this down here. So I lifted it up like that. I bent it up in the middle, and then I kind of worked it out like that. And then you have to do the same on the other side. And you can see that doing that, it gets it bowed pretty good. So you shouldn't break it though. Once you get all these clips where these holes are, once you get these unclipped from these spots here, then you shouldn't have any problem getting that out. I think you could do it the other way as well, I guess. Let's put this back on there. I'm gonna move this out of the way because we're done with that part. Just remember to be careful with that little notch there. So if it's back together like this, you can take this piece off first after you get the screen out. Once you get the screen out, that's when you're going to be doing all this. So you can take this off first, but this is stuck on like this. So the edge of the metal, the edge of this metal piece sticks up like this, and then this here has a piece that slides over like that, and that's what holds that on there. So you have to gently pry up enough to get them off these spots right here. You can see there's one here, and they go all the way down. So once you get that pried off, then you can lift this right out. So either way, it works. The thing about prying this piece off is once you start down at the end down here, and you just keep pushing it up with your fingers, don't pull up real hard right here. You want to use the outside too to help force it up. And then what I did to make it a little bit easier, as I got down here, I kind of was shaking it as I was pulling up on it, and it was easier for it to pop off this edge. So, and you do that all the way around. Once you get close to the corner over there, then you have to try to work on both sides at the same time, like pulling the whole corner off, because otherwise you might bend this. So you get, and this is, it feels like aluminum, it feels like metal, but then again, it could be just some really strong plastic. It even sounds like plastic. I believe it is. And on the inside, there's a little rubber seal. Hopefully you don't ruin that too much, because that has to stay on there. Let me take my phone out of this holder here a second. So you can see, get back here, that little rubber piece right here that's coming out right there. That rubber piece is all the way down the end, all the way around the whole thing. So this right here is the groove that's pressed over there. You can see that. So that's what's being held on those spots right there. That's what's holding that in all the way around. All right. So once I got that all off, I started with the LED strip, and all I did was I used a heat gun to heat this section up right here. This section right here, all in front of it. I didn't really do it a lot on this, but you can. I mean, it's junk, but you could save them LEDs if you want to. So I heated that up with a regular heat gun, and then I actually did it the first time with this plastic one, got underneath there and was prying it up that way. But the next one, I'm actually going to use a metal one just to see if it works a little bit better and doesn't melt my thing all up. Then we have the 4 clips or wires that you have to take off for the connectors. So you can see I only have one done right now, and I'm getting ready to take the other 2 off and then clean up the surface the best I can to get all this out of here and make it, get it ready for the next one. Because the next one, there's the tape that's over the sticky tape. So when we get ready to put that down, we just peel this blue stuff off, and then there's sticky tape on the other side of that. And it only goes in one way, so you can see these little things right here. These set right over it like that. There's probably, okay, that's a slotted hole, but this is not a slotted hole. So you shouldn't have to worry too much about where's it go in there, because once it fits over that, that's where it's gonna go. All right, enough of all that noise. So I'm just gonna set this camera up and demonstrate one time how I went about heating this up to take these off, and then I'll do the rest of it, and then we'll show you some more after this. I have to jump back in here a second. I just watched the previous video that I just took, and I had said a few things that were wrong. One was, I said I took this out and I got to do the other two, but there's actually four. There's four of these LED strips altogether. The other thing was, I had this plastic piece on the back side. That's not where it goes. It goes on the front side, just like this, just like the other ones. I don't know what I was thinking there. And that's why that peeled off, is because it's on the back of this right here. Another little thing, and the double-sided sticky tape that is on there is this right here. That actually goes on the back and is what holds it down there like that. So I wanted to get that straight. Didn't want anybody to get confused by just how that was all together. So I wanted to correct that before we went any farther. All right. Well, I got everything cleaned up. I just used some brake parts cleaner. It's non-flammable or anything like that. And you can see this whole edge down here. It's all nice and clean. Got all the sticky residue off from the other stuff. All you see is like a bunch of scratches from me digging the scraper in there. Well, that's all clean, ready for the new ones. And then after I got it all scraped or cleaned up, I used another cleaner, Awesome, I think it's called, just to clean it up and get the smell from the brake parts cleaner off there. But yeah, you can use whatever you want just to get the sticky stuff off. All right, on to sticking the next ones on there. Just because you never know if you get good or bad parts, we're gonna test these lights first before we stick them on there. Got my little power supply there for the LEDs, and these things are bright. I tested one and about blinded myself. So I'm just gonna touch it on the positive and negative, and you'll be able to see. All good on that one. All good on that one. Even though I'm sitting behind them, they're still really bright. And I can see blue lights in front of my eyes. Definitely want to make sure they all work. because you don't want to get it back together and have an LED not working. So these look like they're all good. We can continue. One thing we need to make sure we do so it matches the old one. I already pulled the blue tape off there. And then I thought about this, is we should cut out the tape that's in those holes right there, in there. So this way they set all the way down farther. So I'm just gonna take my little knife, go around there. Just like that. So this way it sets all the way down on these little notches there. Do the same for the circle. That's it. And now we can put them down. Because I'm outside and it's a little chilly, I want to make sure this sticks. So I'm gonna heat this up. If you're inside, then you don't have to do this, but I'm just being a little bit more safe than probably what I should be. I'm just gonna run a little heat on there, because it's gonna get cold outside. And I want these things to stick good, so oh, the light over my head just went out. It's getting dark outside. But I at least want to get these on here tonight. That's more like it. It's not hot, but it's just like a nice temperature. So I'm going to put the far one down here first, make sure that goes over it. And then I'll keep it pulled back this way towards me, and then put that one down. And that's it. There's nothing else you can do. Just want to make sure it's sticking good all the way down. Now I'm not absolutely sure what the purpose of this was. It is rubber. It feels like it's rubber. It's not on these new ones, so I'm not sure if they need it. It feels like it's something just with the glass that's on. We might need it because the height, so the LED actually is in the center of the lens. Right now I'm not going to deal with it because I just want to put these on and get them on there. I'll look into this and figure out if we need that or not afterwards. So I'm going to continue to do the rest just like that. All right, I figured I'd grab a calipers and find out what the difference is between them. This is a brand new one. This doesn't have the gray piece on it like this one does. And we're going to measure and try to figure out why they would have that on there. To raise, my guess is to raise the screen up a little bit, or the lens is up a little bit, so they end up in the center of the LEDs to get the maximum brightness. So here's just the top plastic piece and the metal piece. I'm not putting it on the blue, so I'm going to put it right there. Make sure I'm not on the blue. And hopefully you can see that. That is about 57 thousandths. 57, 58, something like that. So if we take the other one and we measure just the white, just the aluminum, let's see what that says. Excuse me. And that one's probably about 58. That's about 58. And now if we measure it with this included, we'll see the difference. And I'm going to put it down here so I'm not touching any of the stuff here. So you can't have anything in the way there. So we'll put it right on the gray strip and the aluminum. And now we have 70 to 71 thousandths. So there's a little bit of a difference there. Let's say roughly 12 thousandths difference. So 12 thousandths can make up a big difference when it comes to optical stuff. And so that might be the reason why we need to find a gray strip that's somewhere close to 12 thousandths. And I'll search online and see if I can find some of this. And if I can, then I'll probably end up buying it so we can put a strip on the other one, because we want to make sure that we do it exactly the way the factory did it. Otherwise, our picture is probably not going to look like it did before. All right, so I was able to figure out a way how to get the little gray strips off the old ones and onto the new ones. Once you start peeling the gray portion up, there's a little plastic strip underneath it. If you make sure you grab that, then you're able to pull it all off nice and slow from the old parts and transfer them over to the new parts. So this way you don't have to spend time trying to find replacement tape for that. So that worked out pretty good. I used, because I said I'm outside where it's a little bit cooler, I used a heat gun to heat up the white part before I stuck it on there, and then I used the heat gun afterwards and held some heat on it as I pushed it down like this. And that seemed to work out pretty good, because remember, we want to get the LEDs lined up exactly with the plexiglass, so the full intensity of the light goes through the plastic. Before we put this all together, I wanted to show you what the LEDs look like going through the thick plastic lens. And this lens has lines going this way, all up and down. I'll try to get a close-up picture of those. But this is what it looks like with the light going through. So that's nice. You can kind of see the little dots maybe in the corner, but so that's one. That was the one that was bad. Here's another one that was bad. And you can see now that they're working, the light shoots all the way up to the top of the screen to light the whole screen up. Now if we let that down, you can see the whole screen is lit from the bottom to the top, and that's how the light gets spread out through the whole lens. All right, so we have the lenses all put in there, and what you need to be careful for about is making sure that you get these in there so you don't misalign anything. And there's 5 of them down this whole edge. So now we're going to put the frame on that the screen actually is adhered to. And the first piece we put on was this one right here. And that just snaps down with all these little snaps right here. So once you have that on there, this front part will just slip right over it like that, and then we'll push it down all the way around. And remember, I showed you previously that these right here is what holds the frame down, so it won't come back off. All right, we have the frame on, and we have our black tape already on there. I put that on last night. So all we have to do is peel up the top layer, and then the sticky will be underneath. And over here, we very carefully flipped the top layer over the screen, and we are trying to remove the residue of the tape all the way around the edge. Both sides peeled off pretty good, but we are having a bit of an issue with getting the rest of this residue off right here. And you want to make sure you get that off the best you can without ruining the screen, because that'll affect the way it sticks. And if you look really close, the circuitry goes right to the edge of the glass. So I don't advise using a knife or anything like that. No harsh chemicals, anything that will get in between these two pieces of glass here. So once we get that all off, we only have a couple feet that we need to deal with. Then we're gonna put it together. And you'll notice we found this, all these scratches right here. This is a sticky, it's kind of sticky, and that was from the factory like that. So that didn't show up in the screen apparently though. And if we come back over here to look at this, on this side over here, there was also residue on this piece here, so you could see exactly where that was. So you could try to clean that off, but like I said, apparently they couldn't see it on the TV before, so. So I got the TV all together and the picture looks great. Got a nice bright light on both sides of the TV. This was a lot of work, but in the end it's worth it. Can't complain. The Wi-Fi out in the garage isn't reaching, that's why a lot of this stuff isn't filling in. But yeah, there we go. So I guess we're on to the next one, and we'll see you then.